What up, peeps? This video is actually going to be for my students. I teach 8th grade math, so I challenged them today because, let's be honest, it's very hard to make math fun when there's not a great foundation. So I just decided that I was going to challenge them to come on my YouTube page and watch this video and complete the problem after the video to earn a free homework pass. And we all know that they don't like to do homework, so let's see how this works, okay? So right now we're currently working on slope, and they have to be able to find, well, slope, and they have to be able to find the y-intercept from graphs, tables, ordered pairs, and an equation. Let's see, I'm going to start from this end first. From a graph, it's pretty simple. When you're trying to find the slope of a graph, you need to find two perfect points and count the rise over the run, because slope is the change in y divided by the change in x. And this is a little foldable that we have for them. My kids do an interactive notebook or journal, whatever you want to call it. I give them tons of notes to refer back to because they don't remember that well. So I just always like to give them notes to have when they're not in class. So all they have to do is fold it back. And up here, it says slope is represented by the variable m, and slope is rise divided by the run, the y's divided by the x. When you have a graph, it's pretty simple. All you do is find two perfect points and count the rise over the run. So I have a perfect point at 0, 2. And then I have another perfect point at 1, 4. And it's always important that you know your y and x axis, what they're counting by. The y-axis is counting by ones, but sometimes they don't put all the numbers on there. They'll skip numbers, okay? And your x-axis is also counting by ones. So it takes me 1, 2 movements to rise, and then 1 movement to run, okay? So in this line, reading from, because we read from left to right, since it starts down, and as we move from left to right to read it, it goes up, it's a positive slope. And again, it's the rise over the run. Since my rise was 2, I'm going to write 2 first, and my run was 1, I'm going to write 2 over 1. You have to simplify all your fractions. If it can be simplified, you're going to simplify it. So 2 divided by 1 is 2. So the slope of this graph would be 2. Now, as far as your y-intercept is represented by the letter B. And your y-intercept is where your line crosses the y-axis. Down here it says, where does the graph line intersect the y-axis? And again, that represents the y-intercept. And it intersects the y-axis at point 2. So that means my intercept, because this is slope, my y-intercept is therefore 2. So pretty simple. Y-intercept is where your line crosses the y-axis, and this is the y-axis, has a y up there, and this is the x-axis. And again, to find the slope for your graph, you simply count the rise and divide it by the run. Sometimes it may divide to a perfect whole number or maybe an integer. If it doesn't, that's fine. You can still leave it as a fraction. And I always tell my students, if it is a fraction that when you divide, it's a terminate decimal, you can only change it to a decimal if you're talking about money. If you're not talking about money, you can just leave it as a fraction. Okay. Now, that's from a graph. Now, if you have a table, it's a little bit different, okay? We're actually going to use the formula, delta y divided by delta x. It's still the change in y divided by the change in x. The slope formula is m is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now, it does not matter which 2 points you use. These are points that all make up this line. So I always tell my students to use the positive numbers because they seem to make more mistakes when they mess with negative numbers. So I'm going to use these two right here. I'm going to label this one x1, y1, x2, y2. Now, it does not matter how you label them, long as you have one set of ordered pairs and a second set. So I'm going to put it into the formula. That's going to be 9 minus 7 divided by 1 minus 0. Now, we use calculators in 8th grade. So I teach them, instead of doing it by hand, I teach them how to use the calculator. So you're going to hit alpha, y equals, option 1, and then you're going to enter the entire fraction. So that's 9 minus 7, arrow down, 1 minus 0. And your slope is 2. So that's it. Your y-intercept, when you get a table, your y-intercept is whatever your y is when x is 0. So since my x is 0 here, my y is 7. So that's going to be my y-intercept. When x is 0, what is your y? It's 7. So that's my y-intercept. Now, there's a longer way to find your y-intercept, but I'm not going to go into details of that right now. Most of the tables you guys are going to get, they're going to give you the y-intercept. But if they don't, I guess I can go ahead and show you. If they don't, what you're going to do, you're going to take your slope and one order pair and plug it into the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and solve for it backwards. So I'm going to use the ordered pair 2, 11. So this is going to be my x and this is going to be my y. So when I plug it in, 11 goes here. 11 is equal to, my slope is 2. 2 times my x is 2 plus b. So now we're solving for b. Okay? So this is then, I'm going to rewrite it down here. 11 is equal to 2 times 2 plus b. And again, I just took one order pair, plugged in an x and an y into the formula y equals mx plus b. 2 times 2 is 4, plus b is equal to 11. Now, how do I get b by itself? I'm going to subtract 4 to the other side. This cancels out, and I'm left with b. 11 and negative 4 have different signs, so I'm going to subtract. So 11 minus 4 is 7. So see, I can get the y-intercept 2 ways. Either I know that when x is 0, my y-intercept is whatever that y value is, or I have to take one order pair and the slope that I calculated and plug it into the slope-intercept form. Okay, next is order pairs. Whenever you have order pairs to find your slope and your y-intercept, all you have to do is use your formula. Okay, and this should actually say y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Remember, y goes first. It's on the top. This is the opposite of graphing ordered pairs, where you go x first, then where you go x first. So down here we have an example. I'm talking too fast. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points 2, -3, and 5, -6. So I'm going to label my 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2. So I always tell my students, anytime you have negative numbers, put them in parentheses. So m is equal to -6. It really doesn't matter with the first number, but if that second number is negative, it needs to be in parentheses. So -6 minus parentheses -3 divided by, excuse my handwriting, 5 minus 2. And again, I just have them put it in the calculator. Alpha y equals option 1 and enter. So it's parentheses a -6, close parentheses, minus parentheses a -2, excuse me, a -3, close the parentheses, arrow down, 5 minus 2, and then hit enter. So my slope is -1. Now, to find the y-intercept when you just have ordered pairs, you plug your slope m and one set of the ordered pairs into the slope-intercept equation, y equals mx plus b, and solve for b, the y-intercept, which is what I just did. So I can use either order pair. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to use this one. So that's going to be a -3 is equal to the slope that I just calculated, -1 times my x, which is 2, plus b. Now, I have them draw a line. A -1 times 2 is a -2. plus b is equal to a -3. So in order to get b by itself, I have to do the opposite operation, which is to change this -2 to a +2. So plus 2, plus 2. This cancels out. I'm left with b is equal to a -1. All right. And that's it on ordered pairs. Now, if you get an equation, this is pretty easy. You already know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, which is the equation of a line. So to find the slope and the y-intercept, you just look. M is slope and b is y-intercept. Whatever number is next to the x, that is your slope. And whatever number is over here by itself, that is your y-intercept. And it can be positive or negative. I know the formula is y equals mx plus b, but sometimes your y-intercept is negative. So my slope for this first example of y equals -2x plus 5, my slope is a -2, and my b is 5. For this one, my slope is 1/4, and my y-intercept is 3. It's kind of hard trying to write and hold this phone at the same time. Then for the last one, my slope is 0.5, and my y-intercept is a -2. And that's it. Now, one last thing I want to say, I'm going to go back to ordered pairs. Once you find your slope and your your y-intercept, you can write this equation out. This equation would be, since my slope is -1, y is equal to a -x. We don't put a 1 in front of the x, okay? Because x represents 1, so you don't have to put a 1 there if the x is, if it's 1, okay? So it's a -x, and my y-intercept is -1, so -x minus 1. This will be my equation for those ordered pairs. Okay, for this table, my slope was 2 and my y-intercept was 7. So my equation will be y equals 2x plus 7. And then for my graph, my slope is 2 and my y-intercept was also 2. So my equation is y is equal to 2x plus 2. Uh-oh. Now, you guys, it's your turn. Here's the example I came up with. You're going to find the slope of this table and the y-intercept, and then you're going to write out the equation. And you're going to bring it back to class tomorrow on a separate sheet of paper. It doesn't matter. You need to make sure you draw the table and show all your work. You need to write down the formula for slope, and you need to label what order pairs you're using for x1, y1, x2, and y2. Now, I didn't want to go this long, but I was trying to get under 10 minutes, but it didn't happen that way. But you have it. I'll see y'all tomorrow at class. Remember, you have to bring it tomorrow. It's due tomorrow. No exception. When you walk through the door, you have to put it in my hand. See you then.